Welcome to the friendliest campus in the South.
Shotgun, Blanchard, one back set, rolls right, pressure coming, throws, Middleton going, he scores!
To the gym of the hills.
He lifts it to left, that one's pretty well hit. Hall on the run, that ball is gone!
Home of the Jacksonville State Gamecocks.
Gets it over to Day, over the Hawks, he fires up at the buzzer, and drains the three! Good defense by Cunningham. Gregory releases lane. Pulls up. He checks.
This is your podcast for JSU Sports.
High fly ball, center field. It is back. It's out of here.
With your hosts, Brandon Owens and Cody Hooks. This is Cocky Nation.
Welcome back, Cocky Nation and FCS Fans Nation, to another episode of Cocky Nation Podcast.
Yeah.
Cody, what are you doing?
Oh, hey, what's up? I'm writing a thank you letter.
To
Our new coach.
who's that?
Have you not heard? It's the new coach from Louisiana Monroe, Rich Rodriguez.
Oh,
What
I did hear
rhymes-
something about that.
What rhymes with greatness?
I don't know.
It's a hard word. Hi
It
guys,
is a
how are
very
you?
hard word. Well, like
Welcome.
I said, guys, welcome back to another episode of Cocky Nation podcast. My name is Brandon Owens, and I am joined by my co-host Cody Hooks. How you doing, Cody? I know both of us are
Oh
coming
my
to the end of the
God.
semester.
It's so exhausting. We start finals soon, and
Same.
chocolate helps so much.
Chocolate is the best thing that God has ever invented.
Coffee is better, just a little bit.
Oh my God, I haven't even had the entire week of Thanksgiving break. I had coffee every single morning. Haven't had that luxury since I've been back to JSU.
It's hard.
It's very hard. It's very hard to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go to the gym so that way I can write my thesis proposal. It's due Monday, and I have a final on Monday. I'm just stressed, just a little bit,
Sounds like you took an L.
I wouldn't say I have taken an L yet. I still
Well-
got to write it and submit it.
Well, speaking of L's, to go ahead and get ourselves started, we do want to wrap up our football season with a couple things. Obviously, if you haven't noticed, we did lose our last game, and unfortunately, we are not in the playoffs. It's sad. I think it's a sad day for most Gamecock fans because it's not an experience that we get to have on a regular, but it just makes December and January just a little bit sadder.
For
We lost-
JSU, not
for
for
JSU.
people like you and me.
Right. But we did lose to Eastern Kentucky. It was into 2 overtimes. They won 39-31. But hey, it was honestly a really good game. We had some hiccups here and there, but I think overall the game itself was, if we at least were going to go out, it was a better way to go out the way that we did.
Yes, it's a better way to go out, but it's so heartbreaking, especially when literally all the bubble teams lost and got out of the bubble. If we had won, we would have been on the bubble.
Yeah.
That's the
And-
most frustrating thing.
Yeah, and it's hard, but I will say that weekend was actually a lot of fun. So unfortunately, I didn't get to watch a lot of the JSU game. However, that was the weekend that I was in Orlando, Florida, at Camping World Stadium watching 2 HBCU teams go up against each other.
How did that go, by the way? I meant to ask you, and I haven't asked you yet.
Oh my God. Brandon, let me tell you, it was literally a whole experience. So, there is just something different when we're talking about HBCU schools. They not only can hold up against their own as far as football, but I'm talking like culture-wise. Culture-wise, it is such an amazing experience. My director that I work with, he's from Bethune-Cookman, so he has a lot of that, background in that area. On top of that, watching the bands play against each other was such an amazing time. Not only that, we also had what do you call it? The game atmosphere was amazing. The FAMU fans and the Bethune-Cookman fans were just like off the charts. The whole place was amazing. Like there was 50,000 people. And I did share a little bit about my experience on the FCS Fan Nation, and to just reiterate the fact that these programs, not only these programs, but HBCU schools, to just share the amazement of who they are. Look at the comments underneath my post where you have like people like Amos, you had Justin, you had I apologize if I mispronounce your name, Sateria, and we were just talking back and forth about some of the most amazing things that happened during that game. Partially, I really didn't want to go inside the game. Now, I know that sounds weird, but let me tell you, the reason why is because the tailgate was
See,
like,
I want to
the
experience an
tailgate
HBCU tailgate.
was so hype. So many good food smells
So,
everywhere.
grammar, English are hard.
I know. The food smells were amazing. Like oh my God, it was just such a fun time. And honestly, I can't wait to do it again. I'm really hoping to be able to go back again next season and next year, because I'll tell you one thing, HBCUs, they do it right. So that is my shout out to all the HBCU programs in the FCS Fan Nation, because you guys are great and your programs are great, your people are great, and thank you for welcoming me. As somebody that's never been a part of it, you guys were very, very inviting, very open, and it was a lot of fun to enjoy.
Yeah, I didn't get to watch that game. I was obviously focused on JSU's game. So back to what you said about JSU's game, like had a few hiccups here and there. We really didn't. It's literally what I thought it was going to be. It was going to be back and forth, evenly matched teams. I did not expect it to go into overtime, though. That was surprising.
You mean like the 4 overtimes in the Iron Bowl?
No, let's not talk about that.
I was there and it was great.
But yeah, I'm just glad this season's over.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of going into next season, we have very, very high hopes, because we hired the amazing college football world known Rich Rodriguez. Now, for those of you that don't know who Rich Rodriguez is, and if you don't, you probably have been living under a rock your entire life.
Mm-hmm.
He is the former football coach at West Virginia, Michigan, and Arizona. He took Arizona to 4 bowl games in his 5 years there, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Almost took West Virginia to a national championship. Got left out because it was the same year that there was a lot, like if you were ranked number 2, you were pretty much destined to get upset.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, that whole scenario, 2007 or 2008, whichever one it was, that was a crazy year for college football. But anyways, he almost took them to a national championship. So, great hire.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is a fantastic hire. I actually went to the introduction of Rich Rodriguez as our coach. So yeah, I actually have a video from that. So enjoy.
This is a great day for me. I am so honored and humbled to be your next head football coach. You've had great success here in the past. Coach Gross had great success. You have good players. You've always had good players. You have a great environment. I'm anxious to watch our band, all 498 members, to do that. And I know football and athletics is important.
So yeah, he actually mentioned the band. Like I was very happy.
Yeah, that's my head coach right there. That's my head coach.
And we love him. We love him. Sorry, yes. we still love you, Gross. We hope you're doing the best, but we love this guy.
We need to tell if somebody can get the message.
I hate trying to point on this.
I know
as y'all could see.
That's why I'm going like this.
I can't do that because if I point that way towards him, it's the opposite way. So I have to do that, and it still doesn't look like I'm pointing towards him.
Also, somebody needs to put a bug in his ear and tell him either A, he needs to listen to this podcast, or B,
he actually has his own podcast. He runs it with his daughter.
Can we have him as a guest speaker, maybe, please?
Maybe going into the season.
I would love to. Rich Rodriguez, if you're listening to this, we would love to have you next season or close to next season or any time that you're free. Like, you just seem like a really nice guy. I haven't met you personally, but I did watch the interview, and like I have such great high hopes. And some people would argue, you don't need to do that. Oh, you don't need to do that. But let me tell you, when again, as an Alabama fan, when you've lived through, the years before Saban,
the dark years that we never shall speak of.
Yeah. Shula, Francione, the whole 9 yards. And then somebody like Saban shows up, you're like, wow. And that's my mentality with Rod, is the fact that he has experience. He doesn't necessarily just have experience. He has experience on an FBS level. And that is exactly what we needed, because going into the FBS, we can't go in thinking it's going to be like the FCS, because it's not. There's a lot of things. Okay. There's a lot of things similar and a lot of things different.
There's some changes that might be happening soon, so it might not be so different.
Yes. However, the fact of the matter is that we needed somebody that can guide us towards that future. And if the future is bright, then I believe it's going to be him, at least for a while. Mm-hmm. And so, but it's not just going to be him. There's a lot of rumors right now about who's going to join his coaching staff.
Yeah, and I actually have that video too.
With that, again, I'm honored. This is a great, humbling experience for me. I am excited. I know our staff is going to be excited to be here. My family's excited. I think my wife's going to actually be looking at houses tomorrow morning. And so we're tickled to death to be part of your community. And I really thank you for welcoming myself and my family and our new coaches when they get here as well to Jacksonville State University.
Yeah, so before in his little speech that he did, when he got to coaches, he, when specifically talking about his staff and everything, he said there will be some names that you recognize on my coaching staff. Mm-hmm. Now, for JSU fans, that could mean two things. That could mean he's keeping some current JSU coaches, which I hope not. There's a few that I would like to keep, but Lord, I hope not. The other one is bringing big name coaches in. Some rumors that we've heard over the past few days is Major Applewhite. He is currently at South Alabama. He's not he is the offensive coordinator.
I think so. I think he's the offensive coordinator.
Yeah. And then Kevin Sumlin, former Texas A&M head football coach. And then Kevin Steele, who is currently the defensive coordinator at LSU, I believe. If I'm wrong on that, I'm sorry. But, I mean, bringing those names in here, not to mention he was telling everybody jokingly, but I could tell at the same time he was kind of being serious. His son just graduated with his graduate degree from La Monroe, possibly getting into coaching. So was the starting quarterback. So especially if Major Applewhite does come here and ends up being the offensive coordinator, if we have Rhett on coaching staff as the quarterbacks coach, we already have 2 quarterbacks,
Yeah.
former quarterbacks, on our coaching staff. His dad and Major Applewhite, who played quarterback at Texas.
Yeah. And see what
So
I'm excited
Rhett could
about.
easily learn from both of them
Mhm.
and prepare himself and develop as a coach to go somewhere else if he chose to go somewhere else.
And you see what's also really good about this is the fact that this was Zarek Cooper's last year. And so we are starting basically not fresh because obviously our backup quarterbacks have played some. Yes. However, it's starting fresh with a new starting quarterback, with a new quarterback coach and a new head coach, which allows them to create that bond with each other while also learning from newer eyes. And so I'm excited to see which Caldwell, to me personally, I think is
Caldwell should have been, in my opinion, should have been the starting.
Yeah, it is what it is. But I think Caldwell is going to obviously more than likely be our starter unless something happens. We're not.
Well, Zion Webb's coming
knock
back
on
next
wood.
year.
Zion Webb is coming back next year. But depending on how it looks, I mean, do you go with somebody that does have the experience or somebody that looks better? I mean, it really just ends up becoming a question of debate, which obviously once we get closer to that new season next year, we'll talk a little bit more about that. But I mean, overall, I'm excited. I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be great.
I was ready to skip basketball season and be like, let's just go straight to the 2022 football season.
Yeah, we ain't doing a spring season this year.
And speaking of next season, Coach Rod did say we do have our schedule set. I looked at it last night, meaning he looked at it Monday night because he's been here almost all week. So he looked at it his first night here in Jacksonville, and he seemed very excited. So, I mean, obviously 7 games that we know of, because most likely we're probably going to play an ASUN football schedule.
Yeah.
So we'll have Central Arkansas, EKU, Kennesaw, UNA, Austin P on our schedule. But we also have Murray State and Tulsa on our schedule. So we're going to probably play 12 games next year. So we got to find 5 other games to fill.
UTC?
Please no. Well, I mean,
in Jayville.
I would prefer it to be at Chattanooga because in 2023, that's when we're supposed to go to Chattanooga. So that's going to have to swap regardless.
Yeah. I'd rather play in the Ville. That's just me personally. But
when was the last time we lost in Chattanooga? I'm not worried if we play in Chattanooga.
Yeah, but that's further. I got to travel, and I don't want to have to travel that far. I'm picky. But overall, I think it's going to be a really good season. Again, Coach Rodriguez, if you're listening to this, we're ready. We're excited. We're ready to have you be in Jacksonville, fully on top of things, ready to get this new season started.
I'm ready to see the schedule be released in January.
That's also true. Well, with that being said, y'all, we're going to leave our football season behind. We'll still talk a little bit about football because obviously
as things get released,
we might talk a little bit here and there about like the playoffs that we're not in. But regardless, we're going to start taking a step away from football material, and we're going to start leaning a little bit more closer to our basketball season, which in the last couple of weeks, we did have several games. Our game against ACU was canceled. We did play a couple games after that. We had a 78-70 loss to Valpo. We won against Drexel 72-64. And then we had a win against Elon 93-81. And I think
you quick jab at EKU. You see how we are getting it done against CAA teams? You couldn't even finish it against James Madison. We're getting the job done against CAA teams.
There you go, Brandon, the one that likes to throw people under the bus. Well, all those games are really good. Let's try to focus. I mean, if you're cool with it, let's focus on the most recent one, which would have been that Elon game that we played. I thought we looked good. I thought we looked real good, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, I didn't get to watch the game, but seeing all the stats and everything, I just have one stat to look at. Gibbs had 40 points.
Mm-hmm.
40 points in a game. He almost tied the school record for single game points.
Yeah,
Like,
that.
good Lord.
Yeah, it's ridiculous how these, and we've talked about it
10 for
before.
12 from three.
Yeah. Both him and Adams looked really good too. Of course, he didn't get as many points, but regardless of points, I mean, when you're playing guard, it really is one of those positions that is pivotal on the court. And I think overall, like we constantly keep saying it. The fact of the matter is that this is a experienced seasoned team. This is somebody that knows how to play the game. They know how to play with each other, and they know who they're facing. Now, obviously, that doesn't mean that we're going to win every game. I mean, again, it just happens. However, it gives us more of an upper advantage to have people like Gibbs, like Finch, like Huffman that can move into this position of, hey, we know exactly what we have to do.
Yeah, and going forward through the rest of our non-conference schedule, which we'll get into in a little bit, I'm fairly excited. There's a few tough matchups, but I think we can actually hang in there with them.
Oh, yeah.
Just real quick, because ACU had to withdraw from that tournament in the Bahamas, what it must have been to be in the Bahamas during Thanksgiving when it was
I
freezing
know.
cold here.
I
But
know.
anyways, after they pulled out, they had to readjust the schedule. So Valpo was originally playing Coastal Carolina, and so they gave Coastal Carolina a first round bye and moved us to play Valpo.
Yeah.
Obviously, we lost. We then moved into the losers bracket. Um, actually had a round bye. I don't know how else better to explain it, but
Right.
we had to wait for another game to finish to see who we were going to play in the fifth place game. So we actually took fifth place in this tournament.
Yeah. Which, you know, not what we wanted, but at the same time, hey, we're holding out at the end of the day. And I think it just speaks volumes the fact that we still held our own against Valpo, which Valpo's is not a bad team either. And so the fact that we kept it as close as we did, helped us out a lot. But it is still something that is a learning experience for our guys to say, okay, well, hey, we didn't win this game. Why didn't we win this game? What did they do that we can do better to defend against later?
Yeah. I'm moving forward. I think that we are going to learn from our mistakes in these games.
Right.
Sadly, I didn't get to watch any of these games because Thanksgiving break was hectic for me. And most of these games were happening when I was working, so I was only getting like score updates. So moving forward, though, our next game I will actually be at, which is this Saturday against South Alabama. All of these games that you're seeing scroll across the bottom they're all going to be on ESPN Plus or SEC Network Plus, because I believe the Alabama one will either be on SEC Network or SEC Plus.
Yeah.
So next game is this Saturday versus South Alabama. Like I said, I will be going to that one. And then December 8th, we travel to VCU December 13th, we host Division III opponent LaGrange College. December 15th, we host future conference member Florida International. December 18th, we travel to T-Town to take on the Crimson Tide of Alabama. December 21st, we travel to Little Rock, who is a rumored future conference member, non-football conference member. December 28th, we host Carver College. And December 30th, we host NAIA Middle Georgia State. January 4th, we jump into conference play with our first one being at home against Bellarmine. And then January 8th, we travel to Tuna.
Tuna.
So
You gotta say.
I'm looking at this schedule. I mean, you have South Alabama, VCU, Florida International, Alabama, Little Rock, and then jumping into A-Sun play, which, in my opinion, is probably one of the best mid-major basketball conferences.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think a lot of these games are really going to be good opponents. I'm really interested to see how we play against LaGrange College, FIU, and Alabama, because I think those are like more of those prominent names that you think of as far as like, in basketball forms. Especially because Alabama has been recently doing really well on the basketball court.
They're ranked currently.
Yeah, and God, what a day would it be if we won that game? What a day it would be. I don't know who I would go for. That's the problem.
You best be going for Jacksonville State.
Shh, it's fine. So I think that's going to be really good. And of course, as JSU fans, we always want to destroy a couple Lions every once in a while.
Absolutely.
And so that's obviously some really good games that are going to be coming up. Some of the biggest things that I just want to see is a little bit tighter as far as we get into defense. When we're playing on the defense side, I really want to see us play a little bit more coverage, trying to, keep it out of the hands of the opposing teams. And so I don't think there's really much else I can say other than that, because I think we're really doing well as far as the offense goes. So I couldn't complain about that. And I think our team is strong. They know exactly what they got to do. We just got to put some trust in them, basically.
I will say there are times where our offense does look a little flustered. And it varies from possession to possession.
Right.
Like one possession, they will take it down the court and just shove it down the other team's throat and score, and maybe do it the next possession. But there's other times where they have like a good 5 possessions in a row where they don't score anything, and they're like sitting ducks. They don't know what they're doing.
So is it arguably just like, because it's hard to pinpoint why? I mean, the first thing that obviously we would think to look at is communication. Hey, are we communicating what we're doing in this moment so that we can actually score? Or is it arguably something a little bit more like, hey, somebody's just taking it upon themselves to just be able to look what I can do, and then start getting flustered or frustrated on that accord?
I think it's more the second one, where it's like somebody tries to take it upon themselves. But honestly, I haven't really seen a whole lot of that this year. I've seen some, but not a whole lot. Something that one of our former co-hosts, Eric Jeter, shout out to you. One of the things he always referred to going into basketball season was, who is our guy? This year, there is not the guy. There just isn't. They all play very well together. As far as like why I think they get frustrated. I honestly think it's just JSU has a game plan for like a few possessions, and the opposing team just catches on and just stops them. I think that's more of that issue than it being a JSU issue.
Well, maybe we can try to. Hopefully, the goal, I would assume, is if that's really the case, hypothetically speaking, because we don't know. We're not in the minds of the players or the coaches. But if that really is the case, hopefully we can take this opportunity to say, okay, either A, we need to expand our playbook so that way, if a team starts reading what we're doing, we can put a stop to it by changing it up, or being a little bit more flexible when changing the game play overall. Because if you're trying to do, it's almost like, well, what school was it? Football. There was some college recently that all they would do is just run the ball up the middle or over to the left. And I'm like, what?
Alabama?
Yeah, it might have been Alabama, honestly. But regardless, it's the fact of the matter is, it's like eventually they're going to read it, and then you're going to get stopped, and then here you are, and you're like, oh, what's going on? And then you just have a problem. So you have to be flexible. You have to be able to change up the gameplay as much as possible, because especially with a game such like basketball, a sport like basketball, where it's so high intense, super fast, like you're constantly moving up and down the field, down the court. I got football in the brain. You're moving up and down the court, and then here you are in the circumstance. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, our defense, I do not see issues at all. I just none right now. Just absolutely none.
Just try to hold off a little bit better. That's hold off. Play a stronger defense just a little bit, because obviously we don't want it to be such a close game. Which obviously basketball is one of those games, anyways, where it does get
so
close.
hard. It's so hard to have a blowout win.
I mean, it happens.
It does happen, but it's very hard.
Yeah. So,
but yeah, I agree with you. Maybe be a little bit more tight when they're on defense. Be a little bit more aggressive, physical. But that's literally it for the defense. Our defense looks phenomenal this year, and with being in the A-Sun, about to play teams like Bellarmine, who finished top of the conference last year, UNA, who went to the championship game last year, Liberty, Dunk City. I'm so happy I can actually say that now. Florida Gulf Coast, Dunk City. Like those kinds of teams, we're going to need a little bit more aggression. And we have some, but we're going to need a little bit more physicality, aggression on defense to actually put those games away.
Right. Well, it's going to be fun. I think it's been good. And so I think with that being said, guys, thank you as always. Thank you for listening. And of course, if you haven't already, you need to follow us on all of our social chains: Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. You can follow Brandon specifically on Twitter. There you go. You can follow him on Twitter. If not, follow our chains for Cocky Nation. It's Cocky_Nation on Instagram and on Twitter. But if you're looking at us on Facebook, it's Cocky Nation, a JSU podcast. We're going to try to keep you guys updated as much as possible. And of course, if you're not already listening to other podcast individuals for the FCS Fan Nation, please go listen to them, especially right now. They're in a pivotal time. A lot of these teams playing in the playoffs, and so a lot of ups and changes. There's a lot of rumors right now about there being some upsets this weekend for a lot of these playoff games. So just be on the lookout.
Even though I picked the Grizz, I gotta root on my new FCS team. Go Eagles. Go Eags. Go Eastern Washington. Please beat those pesky Grizzlies.
I haven't picked yet.
Tyler, did I do that correctly?
I haven't picked yet, so I can't make an executive decision on that. But I will tell you one thing: now and forever, it is going to be go Gamecocks and fear the beak.
Fear the beak. Well, this is awkward.